What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Millennial Girls podcast. I'm Raquel and
I'm Natasha.
And you guys know what to do. We are the Millennial Girls podcast. If it is your first time here, welcome. We're fun. We talk about a lot of issues that we have going on in life because
with a big smile on our faces.
Yeah, because we're a mess and we're proud.
We're proud of being messes. Well, speaking of being messes, we've been messes for 1 full year almost.
Guys, our 1 year anniversary is tomorrow. How insane. First of all, I feel like it's been like the longest and shortest year.
I feel like it's been really long. It did not pass by slowly. Like the fact that we're hitting the year mark seems so crazy to me. Like it doesn't seem real. Like the fact that we've done it already for a year, which seems like a long time, right? Like a year.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's because every single day of 2020 was like, am I going to make it to
like to the year? Yeah.
Yeah. Like mentally, like, is this going to be okay? Like, am I going to be well?
I mean, I think like part of, I don't know. I think like when you start a project, like something new or a business or whatever, like sometimes you have that fear in the back of your mind of like, even though you're like super gung-ho about it, like I'm going to make this happen, like whatever it takes, at the same time, like you always have those insecurities of like, what if I don't make it? What if it doesn't do as well as I thought, et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that like we're still doing it, we're still putting out content every single week. I think there was like 1 week where we took a break. Like
yeah,
I don't think.
Literally, we took a break 1 week out of a whole year.
Yeah.
1 week. That's insane.
Yeah. So
we're insane.
Yeah, we're insane.
We said we were insane.
But then also, like other podcasts do seasons. Like I'm like, maybe we should consider that at some point.
I'm like, no, we post every week.
Yeah, but
you can't forget about us.
Thank you so much. If you've been here from day one, thank you for supporting the journey. Obviously, we've noticed from the analytics our audience has grown.
Yeah.
Significantly over the year, and of course with the many guests that we've had on, with many of them sharing the episodes too, that's been super helpful for us. Not everyone has shared, but most of them have.
If you saw my Instagram rant,
you know what? If we're gonna go, we're gonna rant a lot too, because we want to give you like the honest truth about like what it was like building a podcast for a year. So on that note, we should open our Dezos to celebrate the 1 year.
I'm the worst with opening up.
1, 2.
I can't get it. I can't do it. Help.
Maybe I should cry. Oh, there. 1, 2. Yes.
Cheers. To 1 year.
To 1 year, of course. Of course. I mean, that's a great way to start the next year. But we're obviously cheering with Dezo. If you don't know, if you're listening, Dezo is our sponsor. We love you guys.
It's all over me.
It is all over Raquel. She is celebrating hard right now. I swear this is our first one, but maybe we're going to have more after we get into these rants.
Oh.
But we just want to talk about them really quick. They're amazing, and we're drinking the watermelon water right now, which is one of our favorites.
I'm actually showered in the watermelon water.
She's showered in it. But it's all natural ingredients, and if you want to get yours, make sure to visit drinkdezo.com, and you can get yours today.
It tastes like a watermelon, guys.
It's so good.
Like if you cracked open, if you took a knife and went to watermelon, is that how you open one?
But it's like watermelon and cucumber and lemon.
Is that how you open a watermelon? You would know better than me.
That's like, you're doing it like with like a machete. Like, let's relax. I don't have one of those at home, and I have to like cut my watermelon somehow. So, but anyways, Dezo. So speaking of, yes, we've had many different guests come on, and we kind of wanted to like go through some of our favorites. We've had, obviously almost a year's worth of podcasts, so we're probably not going to touch on every single one. But when we started the podcast,
I feel like people don't even know either. Like when we got furloughed, let go from our jobs, we immediately, like, we took a weekend and we're just, like, depressed. And then that's when that crazy girl was also threatening my life. Do you remember that? That was the same weekend.
Yeah, that was?
Yeah.
That's okay. Wait, let's rewind a little bit. Within that month before we got let go from our jobs from COVID and everything, you had some crazy girl messaging you.
Like trying to ruin my career.
Trying to ruin your career. And, like, a couple weeks before that, I was having some psychic lady messaging me saying, I don't even want to say what she said, but she said like some nasty things like that I thought I was going to lose my job for that too, and it was not true. Yeah. So that's crazy that happened to us, and then we got let go. Yeah. So like juju on that area.
I don't know. It was just, I don't even know. That was such a crazy time. And then we got let go, and then we had immediately started like doing everything for the podcast. Like I don't think everyone knows, like she designs everything. She designed the logo.
Yeah, basically, I think, like, we did the math. We didn't realize this till way later. Like, it was 2 weeks after we got let go that we put out our first episode.
Yeah.
So, like, sorry, not sorry, but, like, pat on the back or, like, kudos to us, because I don't know why I thought it was longer than that. Like, we did not waste a minute.
No, I thought it was longer, too, but I think it was because we had already started kind of talking about it the week we knew we were getting let go or furloughed. Like, that week leading up to it. But, like, the first episode, I didn't have a mic. Because at the time, podcasting mics were sold out because everyone was starting a podcast.
Yes, that's true.
So
you were using your handheld one.
So I had a mic, obviously, because of all the red carpet stuff I had done in interviews. But it's not a podcasting mic. It's when you hold it, it's like, you know, like that, a handheld. So I put my microphone in a red box. No, in a red Solo cup.
Oh, in a cup?
Yeah, because my box got ruined. I slept on it. I literally had a microphone in a red Solo cup like under me, and we were hoping for the best that it worked. And the adapter was like on my camera.
Yeah. And then that was a whole to-do because, again,
the camera shuts off.
That was like my first, like, I mean, I had edited videos before. Like, I was editing all the interviews that we were doing for the radio station and everything. And, like, I've done other stuff before. So going into that, I was like, oh, okay, no problem. Like, we can edit. But, like, once I was using her mic and my mic and wow, Raquel's sound was awful, guys. Like,
yeah, because I wasn't supposed to be using that mic.
It would pick up, like, all the white noise, all the background noise. Like, it was just so bad. And, like, we just went with it. Like, we were like, screw it, whatever. Like, we just got to put it out and, like, hope for the best. So, like, now it's one of those things where if you go back to our first episode and hear it, we're probably like, ew, cringe to, like, the sound. Let's talk about some of the guests that we've had on. Some of our favorites.
I think my favorite episode, well, do we still have the same favorite episode? I don't know if we do.
I don't know.
My favorite episode is the one with Chelsea Briggs. And that was kind of the turning point. It was the self-love episode. And that is, I think it was like summer, right? Or like August of last year, I want to say.
Yeah.
Something around that time. And that's when everyone was like, shit, we're still going to be stuck at home.
Yeah.
Because it was like save the summer when we first started the podcast. And I was like, we're not having a summer. And then it was like August. And we were going to be stuck at home for however X amount of time longer. And this is when it was getting really bad. Again, in the pandemic, everyone was like, November's going to be the worst month. So we were like preparing for that. At that time, too, we were prepping for getting interns. And if we have to stay at home and can't leave our houses again, like, what are we going to do? But we had also been in this point where we were like, I think we need to change the direction of the podcast and what we start doing. And Chelsea is someone who I've looked up to in my career for so long. And she was like totally down to be on an episode about self-love and self-care. And she's so great with all that stuff. She always posts about it and is like really great with everything.
Oh, yeah, for sure. She gave us like a bunch of book recommendations and kind of like some, you know, like tips on like what she does or like what she's learned over the years of how to do it. Because she's also obviously in the industry and she's working for Billboard and she had started her own company. And so she definitely like knew what it's like, you know, being in the industry and dealing with certain insecurities, being on red carpets and such and, you know, doing that whole thing.
Yeah.
So she gets it. So it was nice to hear her perspective from being on that side of the spotlight where, you know, not everybody gets to hear that side of the story, I think.
Yeah,
you know?
We had a really honest conversation, too. And I think it was, I mean, everyone was messaging us and was like, this was a great episode. I needed this episode. And everyone was, you know, going through it. We're still going through it. But it was definitely the turning point. And then from there, we kind of knew the direction we needed to go in. I mean, I would love to have Chelsea back on. I feel like that would be like a year later type of thing. Maybe in August, have her back. And
if any of you that have been with us along for this journey and have questions for any of the guests that we've had on or you want them to come back, like comment, let us know. Share any of the episodes that resonated with you the most on social because those we would like love to have some of the guests come back on for sure. Because it was just fun. Like when we started out, we had Sammy Arriaga come on. And
he's blowing up on TikTok.
He's blowing up on TikTok now.
It's
like
insane. I had a FaceTime with him last week for like 2 hours. And I was just like, remember last year when we were talking about TikTok and like how we needed to get on it and now he blew up and has like had a couple TikToks with millions of views. I'm like, I'm sorry, who are you? Are you famous? Famous Sammy Arriaga? Like,
that's the thing too that's so cool about like some of the guests that we've had on. Like we get to see them grow in the year too because again, like not that, like, he didn't have a certain following. Like, he definitely did. But he was just putting out a single that week when we released the episode. And he was kind of talking about his journey, like, on American Idol and how, like, it didn't pan out the way that he would have expected. Yeah. And then now he's, like, blowing up on TikTok with all of his content, like, related to his music and stuff. And so if you don't know him, look him up, Sammy Arriaga. Yeah. He's a country singer based out of Miami. Or
based out of Nashville, but from Miami.
Well, right. Yeah. Sorry. We had Lodato on. Like, we had some of our DJs on, you know, kind of like bringing that over from the radio station. And Lodato was on, and he was telling us some super embarrassing stories. So that was hilarious. If you didn't watch that episode or listen to it.
He's so funny.
He's like, all we know is that he was just like trying to impress some girls, and like something stupid happens, and like you'll just go watch it.
It involves a bagel.
Just watch the episode. He's in New York, bagel story. Just hear it. But
what was your favorite episode?
It's so hard to choose. I mean, Chelsea was a big one for me too. I'm trying to think, like, recently. There were a few recently that, like, just because it was so funny. Like, when we did the one with Mashley comedy, or, like, even, like, when we did, oh, my gosh, what was another funny one that we were, like, I was, like, cracking up at the end.
Mashley was the funniest, because we were talking about, like, freezing bodies and...
But, like, even, like, we did a dating show with them. Like, we tried to, like, set up Raquel, like, on, like, 5 blind dates on, like, via Zoom, and it
didn't go well.
It was funny, though. It was so funny. Like,
it was funny.
I like torturing Raquel. Like, when we had, like, we had a celebrity matchmaker on, Tammy Pickle, and, like, we were trying to set up Raquel, like, on her matchmaker website, too, so, like, that was fun. Like, what was the follow-up with that? Like, did you ever get matched?
No.
Like... We need to figure that out, okay? Because we need a follow up to that situation.
Did you ever get matched? No.
Yeah, it's like we set Raquel up with like several people throughout the year, and like nothing happened, okay?
And I'm like, I hate everyone. Don't talk to me.
I mean, I mean, it's hard to find, you know, the one or the attractive looking people. Let's put it that way, but. We had some other people that have been growing a lot. Ashley Nicole Moss. Now she's doing big things.
I'm so proud of her. She's on TV. I'm so proud of her.
Tell more about that, because I know
I forgot the network, but she's literally it's out of New York, so she's she's now an anchor for sports, and I'm so proud of her. I went to college with her. We would always like talk about what we wanted to do in college, and it's so crazy because she's always like, I'm so proud of you, and I'm like, I'm so proud of you.
It's so wild.
It's
like,
so cool.
She again too, like, she had a big following, but she, I think, was like, even though she was doing stuff, who was she with before she was
iHeart?
It was iHeart. She was doing stuff with iHeart, so like she already had, you know, like some sort of break, but I feel like she was waiting for like a big break, like as far as sports and everything, and like being a female in there. And you know how hard it is. Like, we've talked about that so much.
She's the only girl.
And that's the thing that we love. Like, when we had her on the episode, she was talking about how she's working for like an optical company or whatever, like
as her side hustle.
Yeah, as a side hustle, and like now she's doing big things. So it's just like amazing to see that, like, again, like even through COVID, like obviously, you know, for at least for us in South Florida, like we've been getting out of it, but it's crazy to see how like even through the pandemic, like stuff really happened for some of us, you know. Oh my gosh, what are some of the other topics that we've talked about? We had Eric on.
Eric was so funny.
Yeah, that was a fun one. We were like taking tequila shots at the end. Like, that was just
I was drinking lemon water because I was hungover from the weekend. Yeah. But that was fun. I mean, Eric's Eric, so it was going to be wild.
Then when we had Dale on.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so if you guys don't remember, in the last year, WAP, the music video came out. So we had a whole conversation about that.
Yeah, we did.
With Dale. Dale was like almost going to do the splits on camera with us.
We were like, whoa.
If you haven't seen that, you should watch that one too, because that was freaking hilarious. I want to have him back on. I want to have one where we do like a Brady Bunch style, like where we have 3 people on at the same time. I feel like that would be so much fun, like having everyone's personalities like at the same time.
If we did Dale and Eric at the same time,
I really feel like we should have them both on at the same time.
Absolutely.
That would be so much fun.
It would be hilarious.
I don't know who would be like taking over the whole thing, because everybody has a freaking strong ass personality. Like,
I would literally
between us all
be screaming at them. It's fine.
Oh my gosh. Then obviously after going into, you know, having Chelsea on, like when we first started the podcast, if you didn't know this, we've been featured on several podcasts now, which, like, thanks so much for like having us on. We were trying to find ways to really grow our podcast, you know, so we were, you know, having our interns, which thankfully to them,
thank you, interns.
They were helping us, like, you know, doing outreach and stuff like that, so we could like really focus on the content. And they were reaching out to other podcasts that, you know, to see if we want to like swap podcasts, and like they be guests on ours and we be guests on theirs, or, you know, find any publications that want to share, like Shout Out Miami published something about us.
Oh, you still have that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Oh. It's in the file cabinet there. But, you know, we were just trying to find as many ways, and we were still going to continue to do so, of course, to get like our names out there. And one of those things was being guests on other podcasts. And when we had Chelsea on, we were telling people, like, when they'd ask us, like, oh, what was like your favorite interview? A lot of people asked us Chelsea. That. And we would always say Chelsea. And that's when we realized, like, we wanted to kind of turn to, like, more of, like, the millennial problems that we face and, like, just, like, mental health, because it's just such a trending topic right now. And not only just trend, it's
I was
just
also literally losing my mind.
I mean, yeah, like, we had an episode about self-sabotage, like, anxiety, like, us getting therapists. Like, when we went into 2021, we were like, yeah, so we just started therapy, like,
yeah.
But that's been super helpful, too. But we realized that, like, we felt like you guys were resonating a lot more with, like, those kind of topics rather than just, like, having, you know, just DJs on and, like, interviewing or, like, talking just about music. Because when we first started the podcast, we were thinking, like, oh, let's kind of, like, do what we were doing at the radio, where we'd, like, talk to artists and, like, find out more about them and stuff. But then we realized, like, you guys want to hear more about personal stories and, like, what everybody's going through and that kind of thing, because it's just more relatable. So I feel like ever since then, it kind of, like, shifted.
Yeah, which, I mean, is...
And then we had a lot of self-help gurus come on. As Raquel takes her sip. So one thing we're going to say, which we're not going to name call at all because, like, that's not who we are, but we do want to say, or name drop, we do want to say that we do ask every single guest to share our episode because that's going to help us grow, right? And
okay, wait.
Oh.
It's just common courtesy here.
I can't wait to get the second dezo.
It's just common courtesy. My whole thing, even if I'm doing something, as long as I've been, my career.
You personally, like, if someone asked you.
Yeah, like, if someone asked me, I've been on a couple different podcasts, like, a couple past months for K-pop, like, even stuff
You've been on more than a couple,
a good amount.
Yeah.
And, like, even stuff before, like, about sports, everything I've ever done, I've always shared. Because, A, it's common courtesy, B, someone thinks that you're, you know, an expert enough to talk about a topic. Right. So why wouldn't you share something, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's decency, human decency.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't understand how we have some people on and they don't share. They stop responding to our emails. And, like, you know, I want to so badly be petty and be a petty bitch and literally blast these people out. But I don't. And I feel like it's so annoying because there's this common ground of, like, you don't want to be petty and you want to be professional and, like, respected. And then some people deserve to be called out.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's such a... You guys, it's such a fine line. Like, sometimes we want to be, like, so open, honest, and real about certain things, which we know it's, like, that's what people want, that's what people ask for. But then, like, we also have to, like, cover our asses on the line. Like, that's the truth. Like, we don't know what the future holds for us, and especially being, like, media personalities and trying to still, like, obviously stay in the industry outside of just this podcast. Like, we don't want to burn ourselves or burn any bridges and do that sort of thing because, again, you never know who's connected to who. But at the end of the day, of course, when you do get a big break or whatever, I mean, that's to each their own to say who and this and that and whatever. But, again, as anyone else who's part of it, I mean, they burned a bridge.
Yeah.
They did it themselves.
Oh, I can't wait to, like, be face-to-face with these people. And, I have a feeling it's either going to be like, who are you? And I'm going to be like...
It's just, you know what it is? The irony is that the ones that actually didn't share were the ones that promote so much about, like, self-help.
Self-love, love yourself, love everyone.
It's so interesting, though. That is the irony. Like, out of all the people, you would expect it to not be those, but it was. That's the irony.
Face.
So... if in case you guys want to keep having mental health talks and whatever, we might just do those solo and not have guests on anymore because they're probably not going to share it.
Or, like, have my friends on. Like, because if you think about it, like, all the people who shared and were so nice and so helpful, were either my friends.
No, but even the artists that we had on, too.
And that's the thing, too. That's when I got really mad because I'm like, we have artists on, huge named artists with lots of followers who are so sweet and, like, of course I'll share, like, promote you guys. Like, it's not even promoting us, it's promoting yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That's the end of it. Yeah, because it's literally getting to know you. Right. If we're talking to them.
So I literally want to so badly just email everyone and be like, I know you think you're really important, but you're not, and moving on.
This is the real Raquel, guys. So if you haven't gotten to know her yet, she actually has way more sass than you might think.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like that's the number one thing people always say to me is they're like, wow, you're really sassy. I'm like,
yeah. Oh, no, yeah. She definitely has it for sure. But yeah, and that's the funny thing. I was telling her too, like when I met her at the radio station,
I would have think I was sassy.
I never would have expected her to be so sassy.
Really?
Like never. I did not think. Like, I was like, okay, like now that I've gotten to know her, I'm like, okay, she's got some wit to her.
We
like,
got some feist up in there.
No, totally. But like, that's what I love it. I'm like, okay, this is where we get along because like, if we can talk shit a little bit, like we love that.
No, literally I'll call her after we have a conversation with someone and I'm just like, you want to know what's really going to happen? And she's like, oh, here we go.
I'm like, oh, I can't wait to hear it. Like I want to hear that side of, cause like, I don't know, like I'm not knocking you, but like when I first met you, I thought that you were like I thought you were a little bit goody two-shoe.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think that you were going to be like, you'd have it in you to talk shit, but like that's totally like not the case. But like not in a bad way. Like I think you guys know what I mean. Like if someone's deserving, like.
Yeah, and I'm not like, oh my God. Like.
Yeah, not like in a gossipy way. Like not at all.
No, I'm very honest.
Yeah. But so that's one of the growing pains that we went through, and I think that's something that we learned. Like I think we should talk about some of the lessons that we've learned. I think throughout this year because there have been plenty, like with the podcast.
Get therapy.
Besides personal, just with starting a podcast or like starting a company, you know,
it's definitely not easy.
Yeah,
I mean we knew it wasn't going to be easy. I've started stuff from the ground up before with like a previous YouTube channel and even working with a online digital music magazine before and worked for them for a long time and got to see those battles and everything. But when it's, something that you're dealing with on a daily basis, like I wasn't doing that on a daily basis. And even still then, I wasn't the one in charge. Like with the magazine, I wasn't in charge. With my YouTube channel, it was just like, get who you can. Yeah. But this is an everyday thing. And now we have interns. So we're in charge of people. And like, it's scary because you have to be the one to answer the question. Like, if our intern has a question and I'm like, I don't know, well, we have to know. We have to figure it out.
No, totally. Yeah, that's one thing, too, that I've learned. Like, when we first, so we started with 3 interns, and then one got an opportunity somewhere else. So, like,
she got a real job.
For her. Yeah. And this is not a paid internship, by the way. If we could pay them, I mean, we hope that they could stay with us. But
they got school credit, so it's okay.
Yeah, they got school credit. But of course, they have dreams too. And I'm sure like going into it, they're not like, oh, my dream is like doing things for a podcast. Like they want to do stuff in the media and, the same things that we wanted to do too, right? But like with us, we started with the 3. One got an opportunity. Then the second one, she's looking for another opportunity too. So like, we totally understand. And that's like,
and she graduated college. So it's cool to have been able to see their development tool too. Yeah. Because when we first started with them, explaining everything that we do and like them learning and then them finally getting it and having ideas.
And like doing it on their own too.
Yeah, it's been cool.
Like it's not like everyone's like reporting to everything. Like everyone kind of like took the ground running and like figured it out with their own stuff. And then now we just brought on another intern since the other one left. So we have 2 right now at the moment. And so they're helping us, and that's been something to like learn from too, because I think like even having like those kind of like I've managed people, but it was in hospitality, so I was just I
just taught dance.
I was just not as nice, and like with dance, like you were not nice either. Nice. And I feel like with the podcast, like we have to like be nice.
It's not even that. You know what it was, and I said this at the very beginning. It's like I want to be the boss that I never had.
Right.
So I want to be nice and helpful.
Right.
And it's weird because when I taught dance, I was not nice, but like
exactly,
kids were brats. So
and when
like,
I was in hospitality, I wasn't either.
Guys, but they were brats. But yeah, it's different. Like I want to be the one who answers questions and doesn't get mad and explains stuff in depth because like I feel like we're not holding their hands, definitely not holding their hands, but just be good bosses. Like we bought them, I don't know, just. Yeah, being nice and good.
Acknowledging like certain things. Like we reward them for like since it's not paid, we do reward for like big milestones, right? Like we were supposed to be guests for like a really big podcast with like over 1 million followers, and we were even the Dance Moms thing that we were supposed to be a guest on a couple like really big podcasts, and like we're still waiting for those to come out, but. Yeah. Even for like, the interns like helping us get those or like actually.
That's huge. Like they did that. We didn't do that. They did that. And we're I feel like this is like just as being a boss, like you have to acknowledge your worker doing something good because.
Totally.
Not to baby them, but like people deserve to be rewarded for if they do something good.
Well, even more so, I mean, like I would do it with any person in my life, like. The fact that, like, that was, like, a milestone moment for us, like, you deserve to be rewarded. Like, in that case, like, if we're just like, oh, yeah, it's unpaid and, like, thanks.
Like, good job, like,
yeah, it's not,
like, talk to you next week. No.
I don't know, but that's something that we've, I think, had to, like, we're still like learning, you know, we're still learning. Like, I think like down the line, like when we do actually want to hire people like paid and like to do certain things, or like, you know, look for like people like with qualifications and like resumes and stuff that like, you know, have experience and everything. I think that's going to be like tough because we're like still figuring it out as we go too. It's just like such a new industry, I think, for so many people. But obviously getting great equipment, that's been, we're still working on it. And obviously even like the acoustics of a room. I mean, one day we'll be in a better environment for stuff like that. And I think even just figuring out like what works and what doesn't work. Like sometimes we're still talking about like our YouTube videos. Like we've asked you guys several times, like polls on Instagram, and like you guys have said like some of you watch it on YouTube, but like most of you are still listening to it mostly, not watching. So like sometimes we ask ourselves like, should we put the whole episode out on YouTube? Like we're not even sure sometimes because it's like so long, and like maybe we should, like we're always asking ourselves these kind of questions of like what's you know, the thing that's going to work the best.
It's just like constantly trying to figure out what's going to work. And it's so crazy because it's like, that's how this is. My YouTube channel, it's the same way. Like, it's always just kind of constantly
That's what I was going to say.
out.
So, like, speaking of, like, growing on YouTube and whatever, now we have a YouTube expert apparently over here. Because during this last year, she started her K-pop reaction video YouTube channel. And now she already has she has more viewers than we do on this podcast. And she only started it a few months ago. So we're wondering, should we still do this full hour of a podcast on YouTube? Or would you rather watch 5 minutes, the best moment of the episode? I don't know. Maybe we should start playing with that. I feel like it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be trial and error. No, of course.
So that is something that we're going to have to figure out too.
Well, and speaking of like YouTube and like popular things, so like at the beginning, I don't know, like when there was more time and like just sitting and like we were cutting out micro content, like we cut out like a really like mic drop moment from an episode that was like 5 minutes long. We did it for a little bit and then we stopped because then we had that whole thing with that one artist that we remember, the artist, the girl that complained to us about the art. Anyways, we could have gotten sued at some point, let's just put it that way, and we were barely even starting. But yeah, so at that time we were putting out micro content, and one of the videos that we didn't bring her up, Serena Kerrigan, she was one of our guests like way early on.
Like our second guest, right? She
was our third guest, and she was a trip. She was a riot. She was talking about like dating during quarantine and like Corona boyfriend and all this stuff, and we put out a clip that was like 5 minutes from that whole episode. And that was when we were doing the episodes for like almost an hour at that time. And then we dropped it down. And it was literally just her talking about like how she started her Instagram dating show. And she literally has season by season an Instagram dating show where she goes on Instagram lives and does live dates with different men. And that has like, I don't know how many views now, because when people look up her name, they rather watch that 5 minute clip of how she started her show. So
I mean, it's because the attention span of people. Like think about TikTok. TikTok's honestly, even I'm also becoming a TikTok expert. TikTok literally does better if it's under 30 seconds.
Oh, because did you do stuff before that was longer?
Yeah.
Oh,
and everything that's shorter does better.
Interesting.
Because our attention span is the size of a peanut.
It has to be niche, though. It has to be so niche. Like the same with you. Like when you post your K-pop stuff, when it's and then your mom's somehow involved in it, like they do so great, and you're like, okay, so like it's just weird like that. Like I did skits too, where like they went viral on TikTok, and then I'll do other things and they don't. It's just the audiences are just different everywhere. Yeah. But that's another thing too. Yeah, we like started our TikTok page. Instagram Reels came into existence this last year. But Instagram Reels didn't exist when we started the podcast.
Oh yeah.
It came into existence in the last year.
I forgot about that.
Like so much has happened in this last year. Like obviously outside of COVID, because that's part of it too. But yeah, it's crazy.
I forgot about that. You're right.
But Instagram Reels works better for us, at least from what I've noticed from our stuff. We do like our little funny things. Yeah. But yeah, speaking of TikTok, we've had TikTok guests on.
Roderick.
We had Roderick.
Josh.
Just Me Rod. He's a trip. Like, his content does so well. Like, he just talks about millennial anxiety. And if you're a millennial, just go and look him up and you'll get it. You'll literally just get it when you go to his page. And if you haven't seen him, which I'm surprised you haven't, literally.
No, everyone was like, oh my God, I love him.
We did our first Instagram takeover with him. He came on and took over our Instagram. And we got like 1,000 followers in like literally 24 hours. we were like not even thinking about that. We were just like, oh, like come take over our thing. Like, you know, maybe, you know, whatever. No, like
it was wild.
He has a very strong fan base. It's insane. We're like,
but he's super niche.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
But we're like, can we just like learn from you? Because like, how do we do that?
I mean, TikTok.
And then we had Josh. We had Carly. Josh is the one who like, he ends every video.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's the best.
Carly was great.
Carly was great. We want to have her on again, too.
Yeah, Carly was super sweet, and we got to do that Clubhouse with her about, like, body image.
Oh, yeah, Clubhouse became a thing in the last year?
I mean, that was, like, I feel like the last 3 months, but yeah.
That's so insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, we did that, too. Yeah, we had Carly on. She was, like, giving her ideas on, like, how to do vision boards and, like, even, like, making one, like, for your phone screensaver and stuff. So, like, so many throwbacks like throughout the year to like go back to. We did like holiday gift guides, like Valentine's Day gift guides and stuff.
You know what's crazy is like thinking back now that we're talking about all these episodes, I feel like they all still really apply to this year and like what season of life we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
Season, I use the Chelsea.
Like in what terms?
The Chelsea.
The Chelsea.
The Chelsea term. No, just like everything we're talking about is still very relevant, which is good to know because you don't want to necessarily have a podcast and it's like so outdated. 3 months, 6 months down the line. So everything we're still talking about is very still mental health and body image. And I mean, our latest episode that literally dropped last week is about body dysmorphia and body image. And we talked about that like 6 months ago. So clearly the world needs some changing, peeps.
Some changing. Yeah, the social media thing. We talked about social media too. When The Social Dilemma came out on Netflix, that was a whole thing. So it's just like comparing yourself on social media, the body image thing, body dysmorphia, and like how celebrities contribute to that too. Like it's just always, I feel like it's constantly like reoccurring from like the pictures and the Photoshop and like, oh, you know, people get called out for like manipulating their faces or their bodies. And now on social media, like no one used to put like, remember when all the fashion bloggers that were like barely getting like famous and they were like the only influencers and now like everyone can be an influencer? Like they would only post like their only perfect, like most perfect pictures, like with their outfits and like Europe and like on the boat and whatever. And like now they're literally posting like before and afters or like side by sides of what they look like 10 pounds lighter versus 10 pounds heavier. Like if you pose with your arched back versus like slouching, like your pooch is going to hang out. Like, so like now all these like really big influencers are like even being honest about like what their body looks like because that's what the trends are and it's changed now. It's not, it's not everyone obviously does it, but like whoever I guess is like wanting to keep up with the times or like, you know, not be canceled for not being honest, which like these girls, by the way, they like look perfect, like with or without, like whatever, like they're fine. Like they don't need it, but yeah.
Is there something that this is a good question.
Oh, I can't wait.
Is there something that you wish you could change if you could go back and do it with the podcast?
Ooh. Oof, this is a tough one. Do you have an answer for it already?
No, I just thought of a really good question.
What would I change if I went back? Oh, that's a tough one. Honestly, you might be surprised by this. A part of me wishes I could have been, or we could have been even more real, even more honest. Okay. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, like, sometimes it's really scary to be honest about certain things. Like when Raquel opened up about anxiety for the first time.
That was terrifying.
And, like, even, like, there were stories, like, personal stories that I shared that, like, I got texts from family members, like, why did you share that? Like, you shouldn't be telling the public this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. For some reason, a part of me feels like someone might relate to that or, like, by me sharing it, I'm like not making it something that's shameful. Yeah. And I feel like I could be totally wrong. And sometimes I'm like, maybe we shouldn't go so deep because I'm like just a deep person naturally. Sometimes I'm like, maybe we should have been funnier. Like it's kind of like one or the other. Like sometimes I'm like, maybe we should have been even more funnier, just like more let loose or like more solo episodes where we're literally just like telling personal stupid stories sometimes. But then I'm like, are we going to run out of those? Maybe not. I mean not with my life. I mean, we're the millennial girls. So like,
not with our lives. I don't think so.
I mean, literally like last week's episode, I'm talking about how I got magnets stuck in my nose and I'm not telling the rest of it. So listen to it. But
I told my mom that story, my mom and dad, and they were like, honestly, no, their response was, yeah, well, we're actually really surprised you never did that.
Were they surprised I did?
My parents' responses every time I tell a friend story is like, and that's why y'all are the same.
They're like, that's why you guys get along.
Yeah, literally.
I guess.
Every response.
I mean, but that's the thing though. It's like, at least like the young ones, I mean, there's plenty of them, but I feel like at some point, like they'll just like, you'll run out because like that was when I was 10, but then
No,
like I guess more will happen like from now till the future.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Every day of my life something happens. I'm like, why?
I mean, let us know. Do you want us to get like more honest, more deep about personal things, or would you rather us just like literally shoot the shit and like make you laugh? Because I feel like people want to laugh. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think? If I ask you the same question back, what's one thing you would change going back?
not having the guests on who didn't share the episode.
But like besides having those particular guests, would you have preferred having done solos or just different guests?
I like having guests. I don't know. I still feel like I do like having guests because I like bringing in the element of someone different because I think it brings out something different in us.
I personally have so much more fun with just you. That's the truth. I don't know, like maybe, sorry, I mean, not to knock any guests that we've had on, like I've loved having them on, but like I think because we didn't end up going with an interview format.
Yeah.
That's what I liked doing with guests. Like I wanted to interview them and like dig or get an exclusive or, you know, find out something that people didn't know about them or something like that. And like, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it sound bad. Yes, like we're going to continue to have guests, obviously. But like, I have fun with you.
Yeah.
I just have fun with you.
We're fine. I think I don't have any regrets, honestly, because everything we've done, we've learned so much from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every single thing from like sending out sponsorship emails, cold emails to like literally designing merch. We have learned everything so much. I don't really have a regret. I think if anything, maybe have found the direction we wanted to go in sooner, but even then, like we learned so much and had really great conversations from the ones we had previously before that happened.
Yeah, I was listening to this YouTube video last night, and it was talking about like kind of like what your expectations are for things, and like I feel like it's so easy to get caught up in the growth and like the excitement of like wanting to go viral and like be big and all this stuff, and it's like we knew going into it, like, yes, that is the goal at some point, like to more than going viral and more than having like millions of listeners or views. I think what we care about more is like our loyal audience, our community, and like obviously having sponsors for that. Like, I feel like we'd be happier having, 5 sponsors at like a lower number versus like having 1 million with like no sponsor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's kind of more of our goal, but of course we want to grow, and the journey is something that I think is really hard for not just us, but for anyone to really like ride through, because
I can honestly say from having a YouTube channel that's doing really well, it's the same stress and issues. Yeah, I'm not like getting thousands of views on a video and I'm like, oh, let's go, like, no, like it's even more stress. Like
it's the same
amount of stress and anxiety.
Yeah, because you're putting the same pressure on yourself of like, oh, I grew this quick, I need to grow quicker, or I need to, whatever it is, or find the sponsors or whatever. Yeah,
because it's like then you get to a point you're like, oh my god, I'm not getting any more, and I'm like doormat, and then like dormant, plateau.
Sure, that's easier.
Or plateaued. Anyway, we're saying the same.
That word.
Yeah, no, it doesn't get any. It's still really stressful, and every time I post a video, I have a panic attack. So,
because like this is the thing too. Like, I don't think when we started, we said in a year. We didn't set specific goals in a year, which like maybe that's something maybe I'd regret. Like maybe we should do that going into the next year. Like we did set like certain like goals by like the month, or like we gave ourselves a certain timeline, like we need to grow a certain amount like by the 2-year mark or whatever. But I think like if you do set like those small goals, like the short term and the long term, that's definitely helpful, because then you can always aim toward it. Like now we're like, okay, like our focus, like even with the interns, is like more than all this other whatever other stuff that we're doing, like content and whatever, like we need to have 1,000 ears on the podcast. We need to have 1,000. We need to have 1,000. Like we are literally repeating that to ourselves every week. Because that's like the goal, the next goal. And I think like sometimes it's really easy to get hard on ourselves when we don't hit those numbers. Like sometimes some of our teases on like Instagram or like, even our following or whatever, like will grow and then it'll stop and it'll grow or stop. Or like this video had 1,000 something views and then this one had like 200. Well, nothing gets 4, but like it's like 200 and we're like, oh my God, like do people not like it? Like did they not resonate with this episode? Like
I think one thing with being a content creator, and I said, when did I say this? Who did I say to you?
I don't know.
What did I say?
Are you having deja vu or something?
Kind of. Oh, the reaction video I had with you in it, the Kong Daniel one.
Yes.
How I didn't consider myself like a content creator until recently because I hated editing and I was so scared of it, and now I'm like, I can kind of edit.
Yeah, she only considered herself like a face and a host.
Yeah.
And now that she's actually doing K-pop videos herself and everything, or like using like the Splice app that I live by. Like,
I love that app.
I literally asked her,
Splice.
we didn't even talk about Solved, but we have Solved Skincare. Like they send us so many things and we're doing giveaways all the time with them. So like
I cannot wait to go to Korea and visit them.
We literally love them. We love their skincare and like you guys have to try it, of course. Mm-hmm. But I like gave her a video that was like, I don't know, 6-8 minutes long, and she made it less than a minute and like an Instagram reel or something, and I was like, wow. I was like, Raquel did this all by herself.
I did it.
I was like, I did it, and it was so good. I was like, if I made it, it probably wouldn't have even been that good because like I get stuck. I get attached to everything.
Issues.
Yeah, I'm like, oh wait, but that was good, and that's good, and then it was
delete.
like more than a minute long, and then she's like, no, screw that, like to the point, and I'm like, yeah, that's what we need in our lives. So.
I'm like, delete this shit.
But sorry, okay, so you were saying that you never felt like a content creator.
Yeah, I never felt like a content creator until recently, and I feel like that's been really cool too, like, and obviously development through this podcast because, you know, a content creator isn't just like editing. It's coming up with the ideas and the concepts and like the vibe and the this. And I think that's been something that's been so great too, is like we're each learning a new avenue of like ourselves and it's developing, which has been great. And I think that's been something like a great takeaway of the podcast over the past year. Yeah. Because if you look back, like I was so afraid to like touch iMovie or Splice or edit anything. Like straight up terrified.
Yeah.
And obviously.
And now you use it every week.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah. Like, see, I told you, Splice is the best, and like one day they better sponsor us.
Sponsor us.
I literally have been using that for more than a year, and like I use it every week, every day. Like even for my like cooking stuff, like I have to use Splice when I like put together a reel or something. Like I use it for everything.
Okay, so where do you see? This has turned into a Q&A. Where do you see this going in the next year? What would you like to have in the next year? A year, because like a year is a really long time. Like it's a long time, but then when you blink, it goes by. But like so many things happen in a year.
I know. This is, I mean, like for sure, I want 1,000 listeners. Like that's like a huge thing for me. I just don't know if that's going to take us the full year or if that's going to be like within a certain amount of months. Like I'm not sure by that yet. But for sure, like let's just say it does take, you know, a while to get there. We need to have 1,000 by the year. That's like, that can't, if it's not, that's a problem and we're not doing, no, it has to happen.
It's going to happen.
Aside from, I don't know. I feel like we need to, I just feel like we always do, like we always have to like just regroup on like what kind of content we're putting out because sometimes it's the same as like anything in media. Like sometimes when you're doing this like day in and day out or every week, like you become bored of yourself and of your own things. Like sometimes things can get like so routine. Like even when we were in radio, it's like talking about the same music news. You're like, oh my God, I already said this like 50 times. Like, aren't people bored of that?
Yeah.
So like that's kind of how I feel sometimes. Like I'll get like things will get like old quick. So I'll always wonder like, do we need to like freshen up or like change direction or that? Like that's always like my biggest question, I think, of like, as far as like growth, because it's not, the growth doesn't mean numbers just for us. It's like, what value are we providing at the end of the day for anyone that's listening, you know?
Yeah, she's
like
really good with that. Like she always says, what's the value? What's the value? What's the value?
Right.
And I think that is like, anything you do, what is the value that you're providing with anyone? Whether it be like the smallest thing is just making someone laugh or entertainment to giving someone a great quote and recommending a good book. Like that. But
that's
value.
The part that's the part that like confuses me because like, I mean, I guess we just like have to hear feedback from everybody, but like I get so confused because sometimes when we do our solo episodes, they do better than like certain guests that we have on that like I thought were providing value, and then it's like you and I will literally be telling like personal weird stories and like they do better. So
it's relatable.
That's what I'm saying. But it's like, well, is that really value? It's just like entertainment, you know? That's the part where I always am like, question mark.
Yeah.
What about you?
It's confusing.
In a year?
Well, definitely we need to go on a vacation together. So we definitely need to go on a vacation, like Millennial Girls vacation, and like do some sort of retreat. And I feel like that is going to be one way to come up with new ideas and like take us out of our element. Because if you think about it, we haven't done that. We haven't been taken out of the element that we normally are always in to think about outside. Even if I'm like at my house or you're at your house, it's always the same thing. And we're just, I feel like we need to go on like an inspiration trip and just be like,
I love that. We need to do that.
Do something like that. So, well, someone else flies out.
Now that I got a new full-time job, that's like, I guess, aside from her doing her K-pop reaction video YouTube channel and like growing so quick, I finally got a full-time job.
Yay!
And I'm working at Soho House as a bartender. And if you don't know anything about Soho House, it is one of many around the world. That there's one in Hollywood, there's one in Malibu, there's 2 in New York, they're all over the UK. And all over Europe. No, and they're like in the best places too. It's like Hong Kong and in Barcelona, Mykonos. I'm like, okay, let's do it. You know?
Okay, so we can go to Mykonos for a retreat. Amazing.
But no, it's cool because like I didn't know if I was going to go back to bartending, but I'm back at bartending, and I like doing it. I like talking to people. The first thing she said to me, and I like making drinks.
Her first day, she was like, I love it. It's so fun. I can't believe I ever left it. I was like,
yeah.
Whatever brings you happiness, girl. Like, do that.
Like, so now at least that I have the full-time job and I'm starting making money again, like, then the sky's the limit. We can go and do whatever we need to do and retreat and obviously, like, have money to pay for more things for the podcast. So, But, I think, I agree with you. Definitely taking the time to brainstorm. Every time we get together, it's always like we're cramming, like, 50 things that we need to do in, like, one day because it's, like, the one day of the week that we could actually meet up together, which we see each other every week. But it's like we're trying to email sponsors and we're trying to record a podcast and then we have an interview or we've got to do this and that. And it's just like it's really hard to kind of like you said, like take that step back and like actually brainstorm. Like everything is just like rush. Like it's just like the next week. Like
the week is over and you're like the blink of an eye. The week is over and you're like, okay, we didn't do this and like we need to do this, but. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see what happens in this next year. I'm personally mentally in a way better place, even over the past, like, couple months than I was. Like, I go back and I think to how I was this past year, and I was like, I was unstable. Like,
yeah. Well, because, again, when we started the podcast, we were first furloughed, and then we were hoping to be called back by the job when they got the loan, and we never got called back.
Right, so.
And then after that, it was just like this like major anxiety and depression about like when is the world going to open? Like, are we going to be able to work? And we were applying to God knows how many jobs and like still and like trying to get our lives together. And
I would like to say I haven't had a panic attack in 3 months. So go therapy.
We've been doing therapy since January. Yeah. Every week.
Yeah.
So that's been helpful for sure.
That's been good. And I mean, it's just gotten to the point where it's like, know your worth. I've turned down 2 jobs. Because they weren't gonna pay me anything that was even good to live on, and like you just have to know your worth. I feel like this past year as a whole was such a growing year, and I truly feel like if it didn't happen last year, it was gonna happen eventually. Yeah. Because it just put everything into perspective, and I feel like it's like time for a new chapter, and your late 20s and everything happens for a reason, even though if you like literally don't know what this reason is, you're like, why universe? Why? But like thankful for obviously Natasha and you guys and everyone else who follows everything. So
yeah, for sure. And I definitely I have an announcement too, but it's going to come later on because I'm not ready to talk about it. Yeah. But
it's coming.
It has been quite a year, and my phone's probably going to die recording this right now, so we should wrap it up. But
thank you guys so much for everything, for being with us for a year, and we can't wait to see what the next year holds. And also, we are launching merch. Yay! So we're finally launching our merch. Finally! We hope you guys get the merch, rep the merch, we'll repost the merch. Like, we're so excited.
Yes, if any of you get it, please, which you should, like, duh.
It's going to be cute.
When you wear that, please, like, post pictures, like, on your stories or anywhere and, like, share it because we want to share it with everyone and, like, on our feed, too. Like, if you guys, like, take cute pictures wearing it and stuff, like, we want to post it all over Instagram and everything, too, because we love that. And thank you guys so much for supporting us along this journey and, like, following us for one whole freaking year.
Yeah.
If any of you have any feedback for us or, like, if you've basically heard this whole, like, dialogue, if there's anything that you want to suggest or you think that, like, you want to hear more of or, like, anything like that, please, like, comment below or DM us on Instagram at millennial_girls, 2 L's, 2 N's. And, of course, follow us, subscribe everywhere. I'm at Natasha Salahi.
At Raquel Goldie. And, of course, leave that 5-star review. We will see you guys next time. Peace, love, and unicorns.
Bye.
Bye.